All right. So there was a question posed on Facebook, and I had more than one person who posted it up, and I read through the comments, and there was a lot of hate and discontent in many of those cases, and a lot of backlash for speaking out on Facebook, just having your opinion. Um, when I look at the question of who would I date if I was a woman, or who would I let my daughter date, if you want your daughter to be attracted to good men, you do need to be a good man, not just by words, but by action. That getting drunk thing every night needs to go out the fucking window. You do need to choose your children over booze. Um, there's sorry, I'm looking something up on here. There's a few guys that I would date if I was a woman. Um, would I date myself, or would I let my daughter date someone like me? Like me? That depends on how like me. If they're exactly like me, yeah, she probably ran into a good man and she isn't going to know what the hell to do with him. She'd probably ruin him, but you know what? Let's just hope nobody ruins her first, right? That's a big emotional fucking set of baggage there when you think about when you were younger and you're like, oh man, I just need to get laid. And then you got a daughter and you're like, oh fuck, people are thinking like that. Oh god, Jesus, fuck, what do I do? As a mother or a father. And women tend to be more understanding of that than men, as I've seen. Um, Fathers are more relatable to their sons about that, but not at all relatable to their daughters in most cases. If I had a daughter, she would obviously be way too young to date Brandon Ratner. But if I were older and I had a daughter who was around his age, oh, hell yes. She could do a lot fucking worse. Problem with Brandon Ratner is the same problem with most decent dudes. It's ingrained in our brains to want a bad boy. You're not allowed to say that though. You can post up about it. That's one of the things about that Jason Momoa fella. A lot of people that I knew that are women want to complain about, guys posting up women in bikinis. But then I know women who are posting up women in bikinis too, who are also complaining about men posting up women in bikinis. And then I know a lot of women who post up these pictures of that Jason Momoa feller. These very same women. And they're also posting up pictures with a house burning and a little girl in the front of it fucking crying. And got all these firemen out there, right? And you're wishing that they would all come to your house because your house is burning down. And then there's the other one where it's kind of like a sky view, and there's all these firemen not wearing a shirt. They're just wearing red suspenders and their bright yellow pants. Some of them wearing their helmets. And you post that up, you know. I wish somebody would burn my house down. Oh my God. And there are women who are psycho enough to do that. And how is it that we get so many women who are that psycho? It's because we turn a blind eye to many of these crimes that women commit. A lot of them. We let these women do it repeatedly. The more prettier they are, the more they get away with doing this, and the more they learn this is an acceptable way of doing it. And they tell themselves that this is doing it all themselves. Manipulating others into doing it for them is doing it all themselves. Brandon Ratner doesn't need to be manipulated. Much like me, you just need to fucking ask him. You don't have to pretend like you're going to give me some vagina to get me to do some work. Just ask me. If I'm able to help you, yes, I would love to help you. There have been many times in my life when I needed help and I did not get it. And there are times in my life when I needed help and I did. And when you get that help, it makes you feel like a human being. And it also makes you feel ashamed because you needed help, because that's what you're taught. You are shamed for needing help. You got to do it all yourself. You got to do it all yourself. So you feel that too. But at the same time, the fact that somebody cares enough to help when you need it, but is it the help that you need? Like if you go, let's say you're hungry and somebody wants to talk about food for 6 hours and give you a ride looking for jobs. Well, what if you were already out all day long looking for a job? Now you're hungry. I don't want to drive around another 6 hours. I'm hungry. I'm thankful that you're giving me a ride to all these places, and I am going in and I am filling out these job applications and I am turning them in, but I'm fucking hungry, dude. I could have walked to the feed on Pine Street or the one at the Methodist Church just a block south of there. I could have fed myself and gone back out and done this. And most of these places, we're just going to fast food places and pizza places because that's the only place that's open at night. We could have at least stopped somewhere where I could have eaten. I could have gone to the feed. I could have gone in for 20 minutes and eaten, and it would have been fine. And a lot of times when you're homeless, people don't even register that in their heads. When you have a job, they're like, why don't you just go down to the homeless feed? You're like, dude, they start feeding at 5 and end at 6, and you're getting there. You're just getting off of work between 5 and 6, and you still have to travel back. When I worked at Stone Lighting, that's where I was when I hurt my back in 2015. I wasn't at Stone Lighting, I was at my facility, my storage facility. But I hurt my back while I was working for them. Like during the period of time that I was working for them. So it wasn't work related. I just happened to work there at the time. And it was 2 hours each way. And it's only a 15-minute drive by vehicle. And I'm using a bike at that point. When I hurt my back, I couldn't use my bike, and there was about 2 miles worth of that. That's about 30 minutes worth of walking, or about 4 or 5 minutes of riding a bike. So when I hurt my back, even if I had been able to go to work, it still would have taken me longer because I could barely walk a block, and I had to carry my backpack everywhere I went. There was no way I was going to be able to handle that. Now, Veronica Randall treated me completely like shit for this. She also treated me completely like shit over the bike. And she treated me completely like shit over other situations that I was having to deal with that she had assumptions about. And no matter how many times I told her, no, this is how it is, she's still basing everything off of her assumptions. She is completely ignoring what I'm saying and treating me like shit. And I couldn't date a woman like that. Most of the women that I know in the United States that are not from foreign countries, I would not date. They got this princess mentality. That's daddy's little princess. You're not a fucking princess. You're a human being. You're not above any of us. You're a human being. Be safe, Carrie. I hope nobody goes shooting any zombies. You're a pretty nice person so far. If your family gets like a warped version of rabies that makes people go crazy, they will call it the zombie virus. think of coming to visit. Yes, Brandon Ratner, I would let my daughter date him. Most other guys, no. Someone just pulled up. I guess I better go. We'll see if this out. Nope. It's Todd Rust going into the city building. No, I wouldn't want my daughter dating him. The guy who stays here, no, I probably wouldn't want my daughter dating him either. He's a nice enough guy, but he's got enough stalker problems already. I know that's not me saying that my daughter would be a stalker. That's saying that there are some rat's nests you hope your kids don't get involved. People's personal problems through all this were their reasons for not keeping their word. But then they don't want their personal problems out in public, and I didn't want to have to put it out in public. I wanted it in a court of law. Most of these people not writing it down or getting too busy getting fucked up on drugs or alcohol, and they're like, yeah, I want to help you. Well, you can't help me when you're fucking drunk. With Shannon Alvarado, that was the biggest thing. I mean, I tried to give her subtle hints every single day by saying, well, if you stay sober for a night, I might be able to get something done. I thought that was pretty blunt. If my son wanted to date somebody, I wouldn't choose for him. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't want him dating someone like Shannon Alvarado, despite the fact that she's nice. I wouldn't want him dating someone like Melissa Rainwater, and that's personal business that I haven't released. It's none of y'all's business. But no, I wouldn't want my son dating Melissa Rainwater. Mandy Hughes, maybe. I like Mandy Hughes. I think she's a good woman, and I think she's been through hell. No, I'm not a veteran. I'm not eligible for military service because of my disabilities. Despite that, I got a pretty goddamn high score on my ASVAB. I scored high enough on my ASVAB to be a nuclear technician. That's in '84, and I got in the '90s, so I'm pretty bright. When I got out of high school, I had so much pent up anger and frustration because I had to bottle in the abuse that I was taking. I just had to hold it in and not say nothing. After high school, I thought, you know what? I'm going to join the military. I'm going to get to go shoot people. That was actually a thought in my head. I'm going to get to go shoot people to protect our country. Meanwhile, at that point in time, I hadn't had any decent anything from this country. For the most part, it was getting kicked around and abused. So what the hell was I thinking? Well, I had all that stuff that you're told. I wanted to be a part of your society. I wanted to be able to have friends for longer than, when you're in a lot of these places, these foster homes, group homes, and institutions, you make friends and then they move or you move. You get sent to another foster home or another facility, or they do. For me, for somebody to date me, they would have to be very special indeed. I'm not talking about football helmet special. I'm talking about they would have to be a good person, first of all. Second of all, they'd have to be able to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Also, they'd have to look past the fact that I'm not perfect. And that part right there, I mean, so many of y'all that think you're princesses, that's what you're taught, that you deserve perfection. Well, that depends the way a lot of y'all act, the way many women in the United States never grow out of that junior high school mentality. I wouldn't want my daughter dating most men. I wouldn't want my son dating most women. Y'all are just scandalous. And I mean both men and women. The people who do the most fucked up shit, you reward for it. And the people who help you out when you fucking need a rescue aren't those people. The people that do help you out when you need a rescue, you throw them away when you're done with them. What the fuck is that about? And then you want to talk about loyalty? You want to be loyal to the people who did those things to you. But you're going to destroy the life of somebody who didn't do you any harm. I don't get that. And then when they get to the point where they have to defend themselves, when they leave the situation and they're done with it, and your friends follow them and harass them and chase them, yeah, you don't get to play victim when they defend themselves against that. How many times did people expect me to move on? Before Natalie died, I moved at least 3 or 4 times in that year, just trying to get away from the bullshit specifically about her. Now, meanwhile, you look at the fact that there were at least 7, 8 people that I was done with after Virginia. And out of all of those people that I was done with, I didn't try to contact any of them except for the 3 that were destroying my life: Natalie, Alicia, and Maddie. I didn't try to get a hold of Candace Bondurant. I was done with her bullshit. I didn't try to get a hold of my dad. I was done with his bullshit. I didn't try to get a hold of Lana or Amanda or Miss Jerry. I was done with their bullshit. I was done with them. I didn't want them in my life anymore. I give too many chances, and I've been told that by a lot of people. Sean, you give way too many chances. Sean, if somebody did me dirty like that, I wouldn't give them another chance. Of course, that person may have been dirty, but they gave me more of a chance than these people who are saying that I should do this, that, and the other, because they're just being words. The only reason that any of those people were allowed back into my life is because after Natalie died and nobody was helping, and I'd been trying for an entire year to get help, these people offered to help. But then they did the same things that they have a history of doing. Yeah, there's 2 types of people here. There's givers and there's takers. I'm a giver, but at this point, I'm a giver who can't take care of himself. The stuff that I designed, I didn't just design it for others. I saw a problem and a need, and I figured out how to do something about it. That problem and need wasn't just for me, it was for many others. My plastic brick, I don't just want to make a plastic brick and become a billionaire. That's not it at all. This brick can be used for making a lot of different things, from houses to boats to slow ass airplanes. I wouldn't want to make a fast one. And yes, I want to sell some of them. I want to sell some of them and get property. I want to get property so that people can have a safe place, a safe community. When I first started my idea for a castle, I was thinking a fantasy castle like Disney, and I was designing it for Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. I was a little kid in an institution. I believe I started that in Fort Logan, and I'm not for certain, but I was about 6 or 7. Yes, most of my thumbnails have my hand over my mouth. I want you to look up MMIW. It would be nice to have real friends. A lot of my friends that were going to help me and promised to help me and so on and so forth, they wouldn't help me after my predators got a hold of them. like with Miss Peaches, after Blaine McCrelius got a hold of her. This is a guy who had been threatening my life since Natalie died. All right. This is a guy who didn't even fucking know Natalie. He knows Ken and Leah. And Ken and Leah had his ex-girlfriend staying in the house, who was also one of his fucking customers. So I got to deal with them. And the fact that I'd been trying to get a court date over that for over a year before they held court without me illegally. Illegally prevented me from showing evidence, illegally stole evidence, misplaced evidence, and went across multiple jurisdictions to do it. The jurisdiction, the Sheridan Police Department, had no business in any of that. None of it happened in Sheridan. It happened in Inglewood, and it happened in Boulder County. So why was Officer Brian Valenzuela allowed to go to Longmont to steal that evidence and take it to Sheridan? They put their own narrative to it, and by not wearing body cameras, they were allowed to get away with it. By refusing, the DAs refusing to allow body cams in as evidence, it allowed these officers to get away with it. By not taking witness statements from the other inmates, and by not having volume on the body cam or on the facility cameras in the jails, same thing, they were able to get away with it. Same thing in Clearview. That video starts halfway through the assault. I've already been assaulted for probably going on 6 minutes by the point that they actually start that camera in Clearview. But it shows them injecting me with drugs, injecting me with a B-52. This is something that killed Tibor Hatay. I tell them not to put those drugs in my system, and I tell them why, and that is exactly what they do. They do exactly what I tell them not to. How many of you have ever had to deal with a doctor that doesn't listen to what you're fucking telling them? A doctor isn't going to listen to you, but they will listen to the police officers who brought you in, which definitely makes a major issue when you're trying to turn in those officers and they're taking you to a mental hospital so that you can't turn them in. Some people get good doctors. Most of them have good insurance. That very same doctor that may be a good doctor to you with good insurance might be a piece of shit to a homeless person. Might treat them like they're only there for drugs. Might actually give them drugs just to get them the fuck out of there. You have no idea how many times doctors have tried to give me drugs. I go in there with an actual issue and they want to give me drugs. No, I don't want your fucking opiates. I'm not going to take your opiates. There's a guy here in town, his name is Stretch. Dave Rue. He fell off of a 200-foot tower and fucked up his back. Now, there are a lot of times where me and Stretch go rounds. We have differences of opinion. But the fact is, the doctors gave him opiates. He took those opiates for years. And the toughest thing that he ever did was to quit taking those opiates. And to this day, he doesn't take those opiates. A 200-foot tower. I want you to imagine falling off of that. That'd kill most of us. It's about 18 floors. How many people have you heard of falling 18 floors and not fucking dying? Xanax, yep. Xanax is an important one. Ritalin is one of those things that a lot of parents are giving their kids Ritalin because the schools are telling them that they have to. That's illegal, first of all. And second of all, there are literally millions of those stories in the United States. Parents saying, yeah, they won't let me take my kid back in unless he's on Ritalin. And you go and tell your fucking therapist that, and your therapist gives you Ritalin for your fucking kid. They don't even have to fucking see your kid. You know how screwed up that is? It says, of course they do. They need you submissive, doped up, willing to go along. Drugs for sheep to the slaughter. Not the America I fought for, if it ever even existed. And see, that's something that, as a homeless person, dealing with a lot of homeless people who were veterans, yeah, this isn't the America they fucking fought for. Isn't the America they were promised. A lot of those veterans, when they were younger, I wouldn't have wanted them dating my daughter because, well, not because of their military service, but because they were young enough to jump into military service without finding out what's going on. At that point, you know mommy and daddy's rules. You join the military at 18, you know your mom and dad's rules. You don't know what America is really like. And after years listening to your family complain about all the shit they're complaining about, why would you want to join that military anyway? But it was the homeless experience that really, really changed my mind about military service. I saw how the homeless were treated, and I went, holy shit. This is just like living in a fucking institution or a fucking foster home. People can do whatever they want to you. And then come to find out that most of those people that I was homeless with were in foster care growing up. Holy shit. I mean, I know it's a statistic, but I mean, it's completely different when that is not a statistic anymore, when that is a live human being standing in front of you in the same position that you're in. Foster homes do suck. I'd say for every foster home that I was in that was good, I was in 10 foster homes that were not good. And for every 10 foster homes I was in at least 2 or 3 of them that were complete fucking shit. I mean, I was either fed bugs or made to eat stuff that probably had bugs in it while they got to eat real food. It was provided by the state. All of the food that I was allowed to eat was the stuff that came from the food bank, and the food bank could have been there for months. If it's not that kind of abuse, then you're being physically abused or sexually abused, or they're making fun of you because of the situation that you're in, or a combination of them. When I was in that foster home behind the cemetery in Longmont, the son molested me. And I made a really big stink about it. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. The foster parents there were feeding me the food that had bugs in it. The only one out of all of them who was a decent person was the daughter who played softball. And if I could see her today, I would thank her for treating me like a human being. Before Natalie was killed, I was trying to work together with Darren O'Connor to get cameras and equipment to record people's stories. And I've recorded a lot of those stories since then, and those people don't like the fact that I post them up on YouTube. The fact is, all those people, I let them know beforehand. This was the original plan. This is what we were going to do to try to make a difference, to try to reach the world and show them, hey, it's not just black people, and it's not just Native Americans, it's not just immigrants. Black lives do matter. Native lives do matter. Whenever you say that, when someone says all lives matter, they're being racist, it's because you have it in your head that it's that way. That's not how it is. There are a lot of people going through this stuff, and by telling them that they're racist for saying, hey, we all need to come together and work together, not just for black people, but for us, for our children, for Native Americans, for immigrants, and yes, for black people. This isn't just a black issue. What the police are doing to black people, they do to the homeless over and over and over again. The way that Zaid Atkinson was treated was because they assumed he was homeless. The way that Sammy Leon Lawrence IV was treated, it's because they assumed he was homeless. With Sammy Leon Lawrence IV, that got physically violent. Why? Because there was nobody there saying he lives here like they did in Zade Atkinson's case. And because Sammy himself was the one holding the camera. He was holding the camera. Why? To do the same thing that I was trying to do, that me and Darren O'Connor were supposed to be doing, which is recording these situations. And Sammy Leon Lawrence IV got assaulted by the same officer that I did. Except with me, it was all over the news. So they had to do it in as sly a fashion as they could. They had to manipulate, twist, contort, and outright break the law and try to make it look like I was the bad guy to the news, because I'd been speaking out about the atrocities from Boulder County for years, and nobody heard me, nobody listened. And a lot of people, they're like, you never spoke out when this shit happened to me. I'm like, I did. Y'all be safe. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Would I let my daughter date a police officer? Well, it wouldn't be my choice, but I wouldn't want her to. I already know the statistics. Would I want my daughter dating a soldier? Well, that would actually be her choice, but I wouldn't want her to because I know the statistics. Now, there's also a lot of statistics that you guys get to see that are doctored. Doctors do this to homeless people because if they say that a druggie came in and they gave them treatment for being a druggie, they get about $1,500. $1,500 for treating you like a junkie and throwing you out the door if you're a homeless person. They get even more money if they prescribe you medications. How stupid is that? Over 75% of the pills in the world are consumed by Americans. Do I want my daughter dating that? Hell no. Would I date that if I was a woman? Hell no. When I was in Virginia, Alicia was asking me if I'd ever date Natalie. That was the last actual conversation that we had one-on-one before she quit her job. I said, I'm not willing to date anybody who's on drugs or alcohol. If you don't want me when you're sober, you can't have me when you're drunk. And I felt that was a good enough explanation. I felt that was enough for her to understand, no, I'm not here to date your sister. But why was she asking me questions like that? Especially knowing that her sister wanted to date me. And she did. But that's not something that I was interested in. And you can see that in our text messages. I love differently. Brandon Ratner is probably one of maybe 5 guys that I would let a woman or let my daughter date if it was my choice. But it's not. And I don't have a daughter. If I was a woman, I'd date him though.